Welcome to La Dolce Vita with Santa Margherita Pinot Grigio. Today, we're going to be tasting this fabulous wine with two amazing guests, Elise Purdon and Matt Benfield. Hi, welcome.
Hey, so excited.
I feel like everybody has their wine bottles. Are we ready to have a La Dolce Vita today with Santa Margherita and open up some Pinot Grigio or what? Amazing. All right, well, let's uncork extraordinary together. So let's find a way, let's all open this bottle together. I know everybody has sort of a similar corkscrew. So we're gonna use the knife edge and we're gonna cut through the foil on our bottle. So you wanna cut around the bottle and then up as well, like right up, sort of like east to west around the bottle and then north to south through the tin. And then actually just like,
I think
scrape it off. Nice. I know it's very rare to have a wine with a cork. I mean, I feel like we're so used to screw caps these days. All right, so now you guys can spread the wings of your cork, and then put the corkscrew, and then put the screw part right down the center of the bottle. Sometimes body weight on this is a little good too. Oh,
yeah, probably won't be cute facial expressions right now.
Smelling the cheese.
Yeah, it smells great.
And then there should be two prongs on your corkscrew. Use the closest prong to the screw cap once, and then the farthest away prong, and then you can pop or not pop. Woohoo! Open.
Do I screw it all the way down?
Yes.
Okay.
Like all the way to the end of where the spirals are.
Okay.
The very end of the
first
spirals.
Prong.
Yep.
And then second. Yay!
Amazing. So we're headed to the home of Pinot Grigio, Alto Adige, which is the north part of Italy. And I always say Italy's the most confusing country to learn about it. And Pinot Grigio is the perfect grape to kind of really welcome you in, because I think we all know Pinot Grigio and we all love Pinot Grigio. But its home is in the north part of Italy. And it is cooler. These grapes are actually grown on hillside vineyards from Santa Margherita. And they're hand-picked too. So there's a lot of hand craftsmanship that goes into this wine. Nice. And depending on your type of day is how full your wine glass is.
I like that style.
But I guess technical properness is 1/3 of the way full, so it gives us room for some swirling.
I think I'm at about 50%.
Yeah, exactly. There's some glasses, I mean, you can fill up right to the top with a whole bottle, right? So I figured now that we have some wine in our glass, we did a great job opening the bottle. Matt, I loved that little bit of struggle there, you know, it's gonna make that glass of wine so much more, deserving. I'm gonna teach you the 5 easy steps to tasting wine. So our very first one is sight. And so this is where we're gonna look at the wine, we're gonna look at the color. And I mean, this has a beautiful golden sort of yellow straw to it. But as you get into darker wines, obviously wines get darker. So as you get into darker wines, or heavier, fuller bodied wines, the wines get darker. With a little bit of age, with a little bit of oak, with a bit more oxygen, wines actually change color. And so it's one of these wines, actually Pinot Grigio is a very interesting grape because historically, it spent some time on its skins. And so it was a bit more of an orange color. But then Santa Margherita actually developed, sort of modernized the way Pinot Grigio was made, and they cleaned it out. They took the skins out, they made it a bit more clean, not orange at all. And so now we get this light straw color. And so really, Santa Margherita sort of revolutionized and modernized Pinot Grigio in the way that we drink it today, which is kind of pretty cool. I mean, in the world of inventors, I mean, if you can invent a really great wine, like that's pretty, let's say that's worthy of a prize, you know? But it relieves actually the aromas of the wine.
Oh my gosh, it smells amazing.
It smells so good. What do you guys smell? I mean, this is probably, Pinot Grigio to me is one of the most enticing white wines. It's an aromatic white, which means the aromas are, very well established. We can smell them. They're there. There are other wines that are a bit more muted, but Pinot Grigio is an aromatic white. And so it's sort of like very pleasurable to smell. And there are some like bang on notes when you're smelling white wine, like pear, citrus, a little bit of apple. I like Bartlett.
Is it melony?
Actually. Yeah, melony for sure. Definitely, but it has a really pleasant aroma. I mean, this wine is just gorgeous. It even has some light floral notes to it. So
Totally.
definitely smells really, really nice. So now we're gonna taste our wine. We're gonna put a little bit of wine in our mouth. I want you to put your head forward and like gargle a little bit. So go like this.
Thought it was gonna fall out of my mouth.
I know it takes a little bit of practice, but it's a fun little trick. How does that like taste on your palate though? Like
so
opens
good.
everything up. It's so delicious. It's one of the main things that really helps give life to wine. And so, especially white wine, because that's what really lends itself well to food pairing. But the acidity you can feel on your palate, and there's another word for that, we call it freshness in wine. And so you can say wine is fresh rather than saying, you know, oh, I taste acid. There's always like a romantic way to talk about things that are a bit more scientific or artful in wine. And so we talk about wines that have this ability to have freshness as being perfect wines for food. And so as we go through our 5 easy steps of tasting wine, we have our sight, our swirl, our smell, our sip, and our savor. I mean, there's many people who judge wines out of 100 or judge wines out of 10 or, you know, emojis, thumbs up, thumbs down, ultra lovable, give it a heart. This wine is a lovable wine. This is, you know, one of the best Pinot Grigios I feel like in the world. And so for us to be sitting here tasting this together today, virtually, it's so nice to see both of your faces and have this really
Cheers
wonderful
to
wine.
that!
Cheers!
Ding ding!
Yeah, clink, clink, clink. So we all have food in front of us. Did you guys get a nice box of food pairings?
I sure did. It was hard not to eat it before.
I know, we all set it up so perfectly. So I'm going to teach you an Italian word, cicetti.
Cicetti?
Cicetti. It's the Italian word for tapas.
Cool.
So instead of having Spanish tapas, you could have Italian tapas, which is great. And so, you know, it usually includes obviously a piece of bread or a cracker, some cheese, some meat, and, you know, all of these lovely little, like, I love the olives and the pistachios on here too, these snacks that go so well.
Yeah.
Pinot Grigio. Matt, which food item in front of you are you most excited about?
I love a pepper. I love like a hot pepper. So all anything, all the pickled vegetables, I think that's my favorite. I don't know much about food pairing, so like when you like from a scale of like 0 to 10, food pairing with wine, I know like 1. Like so this is like very informational for me.
That's great. So here's the best part about food and wine pairings is, remember how I talked about the greatness of acid, right? So it's always about pairing sort of the weight of the wine with the weight of the food. And so Pinot Grigio is a very light, easygoing, refreshing, you know, lots of floral aromas, lots of citrus. And so to be able to pair that, you either want to complement or contrast your pairing. And so for instance, a contrasting pairing would be like a cheese, like we get this cream cheese, this creamy type of cheese we have, because that fattiness is going to contrast with the acid on your palate. And then a complementary one is going to be, say, the artichokes, which you have in front of you, the pickled artichokes, which are going to both bring out this sort of like interesting, they both have this acid, they both have sort of a similar complementary taste profile. And so there's 2 different ways you can pair wine and food. It's complementary or contrasting. So what do you think? Elise, what's on your plate there that you're excited to eat?
I'm excited for the brie. And also the artichokes. That's the one in oil, right? It's hard to tell.
Yes, it's kind of got this like, it looks like
Oh,
a,
no,
a,
I
a
don't have.
groovy type of vegetable.
Yeah, no, I don't have the artichokes. I thought maybe I had it chopped up in this like chutney, but I think we have slightly different things, which is fun.
Yes, I think we have a vegan board as well as, because I think we really want to showcase variety in food pairings when it comes to white wine, because I feel like, you know, many people are vegan, and understanding how vegan pairs with wine is actually really interesting combination as well, because it's not just meat and fish and chicken and pork, right? There's so many things to be able to pair with wine. And as long as we're sort of meshing with this really great freshness in the wine, I feel like both of our pairings here are going to be delicious. Let's pick something on our plate. Let's do a sip, a taste, like a sip of the wine, a taste of the food, and then a sip, and let's see what we think of the outcome.
Okay, can I say one disclaimer? I'm wearing AirPods for a better microphone, and if it picks up on chewing sounds, let me know, because that would be really not cute.
Okay. Pickles and grapes. I'm gonna go with maybe an olive. Wow, that olive is so fleshy. It's very like, oh, it's fleshy on the inside. And did you notice how the acid plays on your palate? With
the
what you're having?
The artichoke is impressive with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have artichoke FOMO. I love them. Thanks. Thank you. I have cranberries. Anyone have cranberries? I'm gonna try that.
A little bit of saucisson or a little bit of sausage here.
Ooh, I love the cranberry combo with the wine.
Did it bring out the fruitiness, or do you feel like it muted the fruitiness of the cranberry?
I think it muted the fruitiness of the cranberry. It made it taste more of like a buttery. Is that a normal experience? You're like,
No, that's very true, because things on your palate will sort of mute things out, and so things will taste different as you taste different products with wine. And so, and once again, it's because of if we take in the aromas of the wine and the acid, the freshness of the wine, those are the things that are going to come into play on your palate as we sort of shift around how you taste. And in fact, in training, a lot of people use lemon juice or lemons to kind of really show you like what happens when you do acid on acid. Like you suck on a lemon and then you take a little bit of wine. You notice the wine actually appears way more fruity because the acid on each other will tone each other out. And so that's what should happen in some of the pickled items that we have too. The acid should remove both of the pickledness, but you should sort of taste the more vegetable and taste the more fruit of the wine.
Cool. Now I want to try a lemon.
Yeah. Who has pistachio? Should we try nuts and Pinot Grigio? Like pistachios and Pinot Grigios, I feel like that's like an Italian snack.
For sure.
Like, Oh, that salty goodness.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, I feel like wine.
That's the fruitiness, right?
Yeah. The saltiness, the saltiness kind of makes the wine a bit more, you can actually taste a little bit more of the acidity as it cleanses your palate from that fat. It's almost like the richness of the nut and the saltiness of the nut coat your mouth. And then the acid kind of really cleans it up, which is a really nice way to, it's probably why aperitivos in Italy are so popular, or cicchettis, and having basically nowhere in Italy do you ever just have wine. You're always having wine and food everywhere in Italy. Have either one of you been to Italy?
Yeah. Like a while ago, yeah.
Where did you go, Matt?
Rome, Florence, Venice. I think that's it. Rome, Florence, Venice. Yeah.
Nice. So you've been to the north. Yeah.
Yeah. So we took a train. We went to Rome first, and then we took a train up until Milan, and then we went back after that.
Oh,
So
nice.
it was really great. It was
That's
really great.
beautiful.
For like about a week or so. Yeah. I want to go back.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Elise?
I went to Calabria, the southernmost province, and Sicily. I haven't been north, but I really, really loved the south. Calabria was like, didn't have a lot of tourism, so it was kind of cool in that sense. But I need to go back and see the rest.
Yeah, I know. I spent some time actually in Pinot Grigio land in Venice as well, and it's so interesting because I was there when it wasn't hot, and so you really immediately feel like it's cool, right? It gets snow up in the north too, and so it's so different, I think, from the south, where Sicily and Calabria are like warm places. They do not get snow, and the grapes grown in that region are so different than the grapes grown in the north because I mean you have to actually you have to have the conditions in which to grow certain types of grapes. Think about colors in food and wine, and I feel like that is a really easy way to pair. And so if the color of your food matches the color of your wine, usually things work out. And this is for white, rosé, and red, but regardless of whatever you're eating, those things tend to naturally work together. So, artichokes, pistachios, cheese, all white, great white wine. You look at things like rosé, you have, wonderful things like, a watermelon salad or salmon or pork or shrimp. Those things are naturally a little bit more pink in color. And so that pairing really works. And then obviously with red wines, you can get a little heavier and you look at the heavier colors on your dish. And so I always, when I teach people about food and wine pairings, I try to get people away from like, what are the dishes and how can you perfect that food and wine, but how are you kind of like making it more of an art? And so you're right. Like, I think from a vegan perspective, it's, you have such different or unique styles of what you're eating. And so figuring out those wine pairings are very interesting as well. And so learning about acid, I think, is a perfect forum. I feel like vegan eating is dynamically prepared for white wine. I mean, white and rosé to me are sort of the perfect way to enjoy. And then the red wines, as you get into things that are a bit more fuller bodied, whether it's like a chickpea stew or like you're kind of getting into those fuller flavors, you can add in more of those fuller bodied wines. And so you think about the colors and then think about the weight of the food. So if you're eating very light food, like, for today's the Cicetti is very light. And so we have a very light wine. And then as you move into more medium bodied foods, you can move into Chardonnays and Pinot Noirs. And then you can also, if your dish is getting a little bit more heavier, you're adding, cream and spices, and you're kind of going into that direction, you can really leverage a bit, further into the red wine categories where you're looking at Cabernets or Carmenaires or Syrahs. And so the minute you start to get more of those, that weight on your palate with your food is the minute you can start upping the ante on the weight on your wine.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Wow. I had no idea that the color thing is really helpful for me because I love color in my food. So like picking the color that kind of goes with the wine is really, I don't know, that makes a lot of sense.
I mean, it's a very artistic way of looking at food and wine. I mean, there's obviously a very scientific way of looking at it, right? Like this is the science of wine. Here's the art, here's the fat, here's the tannin, here's the cream, and here's how things work. But I think life to me is more about artistry than science a little bit. And so particularly when you have styles, I mean, I look at food and wine pairing a lot like your wardrobe. Like, is everybody gonna think you look rock star in it? Maybe not. Do I care? No. So does it work for me? Yes, that's great. And so, that's pretty much my advice anyways.
I'll take that one. I'll take that. Be there, but I'm not going to know if the sun's going to pick the colors and make it nice.
Yeah. I mean, not that there's necessarily green wines, but there are lots of wines that you can consider sort of like greenish. Like there's yellow tinge wines, but then there's wines that have more green to them. Like Sauvignon Blanc to me is a bit more of a green wine, and then color-wise, and then you have, Vinho Verde is also a very greenish wine from Portugal. And so kind of understanding a bit more of sort of the color, tablet of wine maybe is a really interesting way to learn about food and wine pairings.
Right, love it.
So cool.
So
Can we go
now
through
that,
every Santa Margherita varietal with you? I'm like, I want more.
so now that we're looking at this wine as light straw, and we know our color is sort of light straw, which do you think would be a really fun pairing on our Cicetti now that we're sort of going in this color, the art of color direction in food and wine pairing?
For me, the cauliflower.
Mm-hmm.
Or the mushrooms. I don't love mushrooms, so I'm not gonna have the mushrooms, but they're there. But mushrooms would also be a great pairing, I'm sure. I'm the one vegan in the world that doesn't like mushrooms.
Yeah, that I feel like you missed out on so many good, like, classic vegan dishes.
Yeah. The texture is weird. You know.
Fair, it is a weird texture, yeah.
But the cauliflower.
The cauliflower, yeah, pistachios, the cheese, all the cheeses. I mean, cheese is mostly white. So, I mean, and a better pairing with all cheese is white wine. And Pinot Grigio is a fantastic wine to pair with cheese. I mean, it's just the natural acidity and then the fattiness and the creaminess of cheese. It's like they're a match made in heaven for sure.
Perfect.
And artichokes?
Eating this cheese.
Yeah, artichokes, like we were talking about, also a very, classic Italian pickled artichokes, whether it's on pizza, white pizza or something is also really great.
Artichokes on pizza, oh, it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yum. I'm in heaven right now.
Well, my lovely friends, this has been such a wonderful experience tasting Santa Margherita Pinot Grigio with you, the icon wine of Italy from the Veneto region. I feel like the pairings that we had really stood out. I feel like we learned a lot about food and wine pairings today. We learned a lot about wine, I feel like, too.
Yeah, I learned so much. I went to this all I knew was that I liked the Santa Margherita Pinot Grigio, but I didn't know anything beyond that. So now I feel rather informed.
Amazing. Well, as I enter into the last sip of my glass, I say cheers to friendship, to wines, to Pinot Grigio, to you.
Cheers.
Cheers.